This pocket camera is a game changer. It's called the Insta360 ONE X2 and it captures 360-degree video at up to 5.7K at 30 FPS, and the results blew my expectations out of the water. Here's a little highlight reel of my favorite clips.
Wish I weren't getting wet feet, but by now I've made peace with the fact that I'm going to have wet feet. That's okay. This is why you bring multiple pairs of socks.
True that. We just camp in here.
No, actually, I know you're joking,
But like,
really though, like,
now, as a disclaimer, I was sent this camera out for review to bring with me on my road trip across the western part of the country. I hit something like 5 or 6 national parks in a week's time, and I brought this camera along for the ride. I did bump up some of the colors in the highlight reel that you just saw, but every other clip from this camera from here on out will be untouched, so you can get a good judge for how capable the image quality is via this camera. So let's go ahead and talk about what this camera is. It's kind of in a category of its own, but I would classify it as an action and or pocket camera. As it's pocket sized, it's fairly rugged, and it can capture some wide angle, high FPS video. The camera is really not too much bigger than a wallet. It features a more slender design than other action cameras. It features 2 lenses, one on the front and one on the rear, to capture 360-degree video. There's a rubber textured coating around the frame for added grip. You have some flaps for the removable 1630 milliamp hour battery and micro SD card slot, as well as a USB-C port for charging. The back or front of the camera, depending on how it's facing, features an OLED touchscreen display with a physical shutter/record button. And I would say this display is one of the biggest new additions compared to the previous model, as it'll let you preview what it is you are shooting, in addition to letting you configure various settings and resolutions. So it's definitely nice to have this little display here on the front. But let's go ahead and talk about that 360-degree video footage that it captures. I took some 360 photos with this camera, but the 360 video mode is by far where I spent the most time with this camera. What's great about it is you can just hold it up and it'll record its surroundings. You really don't have to point it in any which direction because it'll capture 360 degrees. And when you use it with a selfie stick, the camera will work some software magic to erase the stick from your shot. I really think that is one of the coolest features about this camera. I actually posted, a bunch of these videos on social media, and a lot of people were asking if the footage was captured with a drone because it doesn't look like there's anything connecting me to the camera. So it's a really neat effect. I think it's pretty cool what they did here. Some things to note about the video clips themselves. The image stabilization is excellent. I was sprinting with the X2 on a selfie stick and it kept footage very stable. In outdoor situations with plenty of light, you can capture some really crispy footage with pretty good dynamic range, although some shots, like driving through Zion with the sun setting behind the rocks, the sky was a little bit overexposed while the rocks themselves were a little bit underexposed. So, it could do a little bit better in this situation. But that is a very tough situation for any camera, so I think the ONE X2 did a pretty decent job. The area that produced the least enjoyable footage, though, was in low light. That's pretty common with most cameras though. They do tend to perform poorly in low light situations. An example would be when I went to the caves at the Lava Beds National Monument. Footage was pretty noisy, as you can see, so I had to add some supplemental lighting with my phone. And of course, I didn't bring any high-powered flashlights like I probably should have. But overall, I'm very lucky to have had some amazing weather during my trip, which really resulted in the majority of my shots to look really, really nice. Okay, now much of what gives this camera a good experience is the software. You're really investing in the hardware, of course, but also the software for features like erasing the selfie stick and also for actually editing your 360-degree clips to make them work with Instagram and other social media sites. Because a lot of these sites, they don't natively support 360-degree video or photos. I'm sure they will in the future, but right now they don't. And so that makes it pretty hard to actually use the footage that you capture. So what the Insta360 app does is it helps you edit your footage into a format that Instagram, for example, supports, like 9:16. Now there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve to the app. It's something that I had to research and watch other tutorials to get a grasp of how it works. But basically, you add keyframes to determine where you want the camera to focus on. So in this snow clip, for example, I added a keyframe near my feet and then one on my body so that when I play the clip, it pans up and focuses on me. And then I add more keyframes as needed to reposition the camera and keep it focused on me, the subject. And then at the end of my clip, as you can see, I added one of the mini effects that this app has. It's called Tiny Planet, and it zooms all the way out and creates a tiny planet that shows all of my surroundings. So this is just a really simple example. There's really a ton of different effects you can add to your videos. And I think one of the best ways to really get inspired is by looking at some of the featured videos they have on the Explore tab, which is also in the app. So this app kind of acts as a social media site of its own, allowing you to upload your clips for others to view and interact with. So you can see what other videos people have made, you can get inspired, and you can try and incorporate those effects into your own videos. But overall, I truly think the One X2 is a game changer, especially if you're a social media influencer or just someone who really likes to record their adventures. The flexibility that it offers is pretty amazing because, you can do all the subject tracking after the fact. You literally just have to hit record, point the camera in the general vicinity, and you're good. You're pretty much guaranteed to have a good shot. What I want to get better about is finding more creative ways to take advantage of this camera, including unique ways to mount it. Like I've seen other people use like a selfie stick that they've stuck in their backpack, so it kind of looks like a drone is following you and not like you're holding a selfie stick in your hand, which, in some of my clips, you could, even if the selfie stick was invisible, you could still tell that I was holding something in my hand, which kind of takes you out of the element a little bit, But potentially the most unappealing thing about this camera is that it does carry a pretty hefty price of $429. And that does not include any of the accessories like the selfie stick that I've mentioned several times in this video, and I would say is a must-have because of how freaking cool it is. And that's a lot of money for an amateur photographer or a hobbyist, even though it could be worth it. But I think if you're an established social media influencer, it really is a no-brainer because of just how neat of an effect you can create with this camera. And it's also a little bit cheaper than what GoPro offers, the GoPro Max 360 camera, and it has more features than that camera, due largely in part because it's a newer camera that's had more time to add features and work out some of the kinks from previous models of the One X2. So if you're interested in the One X2, I will place a link down below in the description to pick one up. I'm really excited for you if you do decide to pull the trigger because this camera really is a ton of fun to use. I'm not even much of a camera nerd, but I had a lot of fun bringing this with me on my road trip. So let me know if you have one or you plan on picking one up. With that said, guys, I'm BoHD from Slash.tv. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you right back here in the next one. See ya.